Hello, it's me, Kyle, your host. And I take them off like right away every single time. And
I know.
Throw them like, what was the point of that reveal? Anyway, just realized that just now, 4 episodes in.
Oh my gosh.
This is my Doctor Strange capelet cloak deal. Hopefully you enjoy. It's not showing up nearly as well on the camera because it's more of a longer down the back thing, and this is front forward, but nonetheless, welcome.
You have a red cape. That's, I mean, it's like faux cosplay.
Yeah.
And you happen to have a red cape, so
This is my Doctor Strange motif for today as we enter into a strange episode. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hand? This is my co-host for today, Marie-Claire Gould.
Yes, that is me.
You may have met her before and seen her face before. Thank you for joining us live, and thanks for catching us on replay later on for those of you who missed us tonight because you were off to see Shang-Chi in the theater.
Yes.
So, let's get to it, shall we?
That is the other big event that is happening today. Yes.
I know. The other big event is the new Marvel Comics thing came out today, or at least it came out for me. I haven't collected my comics in like 2 weeks from the comic book store, and this is the cover of the free thing that previews the next quarter of comic books to expect and to delight and be interested and intrigued by. It is Hulk #1. Immortal No More. And I
Interesting.
bring that up because last week, probably when this came out, I was going on about how Hulk is immortal and cannot
semi-rant,
be killed.
not a full rant, just a semi-rant.
And here it is. They're like, well, we better catch up to the MCU. He is immortal no more.
Absolutely.
On the cover of Marvel Free Previews. So throw that down there with my sunglasses and introduce to you my co-host, Marie-Claire Gould.
You already said my name.
Tell everyone who you are, where you come from, and let us know all about what you saw at a high level of this episode.
Okay, so I'm Marie-Claire Gould. I am the regular owner and host of this channel and podcast, and I'm also quite known for What the Force, which is a Star Wars podcast that looks at Star Wars from a very similar lens to this podcast / YouTube channel. I really loved this episode.
You loved this episode?
I really did. Like it was so dark, and I'm sure some people hated it, but
people hated it.
Yeah, but I loved it.
Lots of people hated it.
I have many reasons why I loved it. It was deeply psychological. It had a lot of Jungian motifs that we see often in fiction. Very, very common symbols. It was dark, depressing, and tragic. It was also a semi-cautionary tale, which, you know, can go good or bad depending on it. It works because it's a one-off what if. If this was the end of a Skywalker saga, we would be very depressed. But that's where we are.
This is not the end.
This is also, I don't think this is the end of this particular Doctor Strange.
No, it is not.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I mean, I have no proof of that other than
I have proof of it in the slideshow that I made later on.
Well,
yes.
No, I think that they're going to be pulling this Doctor Strange back and having more what if stories with this particular broken Doctor Strange, which because he is the thing that has survived his universe's end, and that's just such a fascinating story because you're kind of in your own hell that you've made for yourself. Right. And some of the reasons, I don't know, do you want me to go into like high level ones and then I'll go into the specifics?
I was just asking for you to go high level. We can delve into specifics. There's slides specifically created with you in mind.
Yeah, no, I'll go into those ones later. But specifically what this reminded me of was Anakin as Vader wanting to bring Padme back from the dead, which is a common thing that we see in Star Wars. And like how sort of fruitless that activity is. You sort of have to have a new life, reincarnation to have another chance at life to fix your mistakes from a storytelling perspective.
Just like fix your capelet.
Yeah. And we're going to go into like why he could never save Christine, I think is one of the things we're going to go into. And welcome to those who are in the chat who are hanging out with us for this. Yeah.
Yes. So my high level,
Yep.
it made me cry.
Oh.
I was so sad.
I'm going to tell you that's not hard with you.
So sad throughout that entire episode. And it never got better. It never made me feel better the entire episode.
Yeah.
So there's that. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, what a heartbreaking, beautiful, amazing episode. And then I thought about it some more. And unlike each and every single one of the other episodes, I found I'm not a fan of this episode. This episode plays on tropes.
Yeah.
And this episode deals with things in the same vein we get each and every time. As Marie Claire's already brought up, Vader seeking Padme. This Doctor Strange needs his Christine, and it is his Christine and her death that is important. Kills me every time, because Christine isn't even a character. She doesn't get to be.
No.
She does not get to be a character. She is more of a rounded character in the movie Doctor Strange than she is in this episode, even though she gets more airtime in this episode than she does in the movie Doctor Strange.
Fascinating. Okay, so you don't like it because of the tropes that they pulled on and because of what the genre stuff they were playing into, but I love that actually, because it's just using storytelling shortcuts.
You need to stop fridging women.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
but we know that that's not the truth for our universe.
Well, our Doctor Strange, you mean?
Yeah.
Or like our world, because it happens so often.
No. I meant our Doctor Strange. That didn't happen for our Doctor Strange, and that's why this. Not that it's okay to the refrigerator woman trope is really wrong, of course, but it is overused. You're absolutely right. However, in the context of this episode, I think it's fine because they only have so many minutes to tell stories to pull on tropes as a storytelling shorthand.
I think that they just should have thought about it a bit more deeply when they went to do it.
And said, like, has this been seen before?
The problem here is, folks, is that we're only getting half the story. We're not going to get the Sorcerer Supreme Strange redemption until later in this season. I think the last episode.
Right. When maybe all the tangents get pulled together. Is that what you're thinking is going to happen?
I'm not thinking it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Oh.
That is the 9th episode. I'm going to lay it out right here. You've heard it here first, or maybe. The last episode is a zombie episode, and I'm going to bet that the Watcher pulls all of these heroes from these disparate episodes that we're getting into one cosmic Avengers group, and they are going to tackle the threat of these zombies.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yes, or the tentacle beast. I haven't decided which of those two things it's going to be yet. But the previews, if you pause the previews at the right times, as I'll show you later on in the slideshow, you'll see that there is definitely a scene with Sorcerer Supreme and Captain Carter later on.
Oh.
That's actually teased.
That's cool.
And we didn't know that was Sorcerer Supreme when this all started. We didn't know that was Captain Carter when this started. So we get to, if you go back and you see the previews, which a lot of people don't, you'll get those glimpses of what is to come in What If. So let's dig into it. This is the very first episode where each and every single actor is the same as in the MCU. They are not individual people. So we have Benedict Cumberbatch, and we have Christine, as played by Leslie Bibb, and I totally played Marie Claire for a fool the other day when I was like, she's like, is that the lady who played Christine in the movie? And I'm like, yes, it is. It's Leslie Bibb. But no, that's Christine Everhart. Leslie Bibb plays her in a couple of Marvel movies now as the reporter journalist who is on screen talking about the tenement building fire that kills Christine Palmer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they went and got every single one of them. Benedict Wong is in there, and Tilda Swinton too.
Yep.
So this led me to conjecture via Twitter the other day that Ike Amadi, who plays Obe. And I didn't pull up a picture because Marie Claire said he was really hot and I was feeling a little, emasculated.
He's very attractive.
He's a very nice looking, very, very handsome man. And he, I think, looks a lot like the Obe from the show. And I will let you know that the Doctor Strange movie refers to Cagliostro quite a bit. To have him in this What If, I would think that we're going to get some Ike Amadi in the next Doctor Strange movie.
That would be cool.
I'm just going to put that out there. I think it'll be played by Ike Amadi. And if it's not, come on. Why wouldn't you? He's just so handsome.
He really is, yes.
So, and then I pulled this up too because that is the amalgam of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And it is just a beautiful painting. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, like all of his different Cthulhu-esque pieces that have been pulled together.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying the dragon was much like Smaug.
Yeah.
Not Smaug, Smaug.
You're not supposed to pronounce the G?
Huh?
Are you didn't pronounce the G.
Sorry, we were watching that show the other day where they were the two guys were fighting over the name.
It was Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
In Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
yeah.
They're fighting over the name of Smaug.
Smaug.
And it's like it's Smaug, it's
or
Smaug, it's Smaug, and I'm
Smaug.
like it's Smaug because like bow and through you don't pronounce the GH. And anyway, yes. So here we go. Let's dive into it. And first, I like to talk about, and you can. First, I'd like to talk about Where's the Watcher? This is my new segment in the show that I'm going to pull out.
But we have
all
noticed
of the
that he's been getting closer and closer and closer to the story as the stories have been taught, like just on the edge of perception, and now he actually is interacting, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's a sign of the power of Doctor Strange, also the relevancy to the continued storyline, because this is going to all come to a big head in connectedness. Because remember, what about the MCU is important? That everything connects to everything else. And if you have these short little stories that don't really necessarily seem to have any relevance to each other, oh, look, the MCU is like, no, they're all connected. And the Watcher is our connected piece through that. And Sorcerer Supreme Strange.
Yep.
You can't call him Doctor Strange because he literally gives up being a doctor.
No, yeah. He's no longer Doctor Strange, but fine.
Yes.
He went to medical school and he wants to continue to use the title.
So this, I think he gave up all the annual testing that he has to do. Because he's just Sorcerer Supreme Strange. And that's what they call him, Sorcerer Supreme Strange, not Doctor Strange. So anyway, here we go. We're looking at this. These are all of the instances where the Watcher appears in this episode. The first time we get is in your bottom left where he's in the skyline, the usual typical one, him distant and away. And then we get another one as we're doing a montage, which I'll get to in a moment as well, at the tail conclusion of the montage. And then he gets closer and closer and closer to Doctor Strange throughout the entire one until the top right underneath the Watcher part where he indicates where they then have a conversation together.
Yes, absolutely. And what's interesting is it's very similar to the last episode where he was sort of in the background, but then we obviously see him move more forward in, as he's more engaged and as Doctor Strange starts to notice him more because of his power.
So did you see all 5 instances of the Watcher in this episode? You probably did at least see 3 of them, and probably all of them.
I didn't.
You didn't see them all?
No.
No, you probably weren't counting too. But that is what we're doing. It is going to be our new segment to kick the whole thing off. Where's the Watcher?
It's like Where's Waldo, but
yeah. And if you're listening to this via podcast form, there are 5 instances.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
So one of the other things I've been trying to do throughout is find commonalities between each of between the movie, the storyboards that we've gotten, because the director, Andrews, he is the principal storyboard artist for so many of these shows. I wouldn't have doubted that he'd want to pull some of these together. And so I only pulled in the bottom one in the one image, but I will tell you that it is pretty much exactly the same beat for beat.
The car crash you're talking about.
The car crash from the movie.
Yeah.
And that is at the bottom here. And I have to tell you, it's kind of hard to tell which one of those two is the cartoon and which one is the real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then in the top, we have it's not the same scene, because in this one here, it's Wong on the right and it's Tilda Swinton's character, the Ancient One, on the left, with Doctor Strange in the middle with the Eye of Agamotto when he first picks it up and he's converting the apple, which was another beat for beat scene as well. I just felt like not throwing up a bunch of pictures on the screen for you, but the one on the left is actually Wong and it's Wong and Mordo who confront him in the movie. And they've taken Mordo completely out of this. Maybe they couldn't get him, but also maybe he just doesn't quite fit.
Well, it's sort of like Doctor Strange is taking the place of Mordo because he is sad over something associated with death, right? And that was Mordo's whole motivation inside of the movie, was trying to overcome death because of the death of his loved ones. So Doctor Strange is almost filling the same role and is in so many ways more successful, because when he looks at one of the books in the library, it actually has the symbol that is associated with Dormammu and the Cagliata, or the
Cagliostro.
With what Mordo goes and does that specific ritual that he does to become more powerful and tap into the dark dimension.
Oh, which Mordo doesn't do, and Mordo stands against.
Oh, sorry, not Mordo. Yeah. I meant the other guy.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, that guy.
I can't remember the character's name.
He fulfills that role inside of the...
Yeah, in many ways he becomes his own bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's at this point that the similarities largely cease. We get the where his hands are wounded and instead we lose Christine, and I'll like to talk about that a bit more, and the crash, but nothing else in the episode other than a few beats of like the shot of him sitting and looking out the window are really similar to that in Doctor Strange, because it's not Doctor Strange anymore. We've gone far off the track right away here. It is not an amalgam of a bunch of different movies like the last one was. It's not the Star-Lord Black Panther one, which we got in our second episode. As my son likes to say, the chaos levels were extremely high. You know what? Why don't we just have him tell us?
Yes. There we go.
Chaos levels are rising because Doctor Strange has merged with a bunch of beasts. The chaos levels are at an all-time high at a 9, like a level of 9. That's pretty high. In this timeline, the world is ending, and Doctor Strange has 2 people, and now he merged. What is going on? Everything is ending. There's a bunch of black goop everywhere, and we don't know what's going on. Doctor Strange has 2 timelines, one where he's merging with animals and becoming a beast, and then the other, he is not merging with animals and becoming a beast. And there's 2 Doctor Stranges somehow, and back to the other.
Thanks, Will. Thanks so much.
He wanted to participate, but he wanted to do a chaos weather report.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's cute. We'll do it.
Expect more from that other timeline in future episodes.
Yeah. He's a cute little news reporter.
He is a sheer delight.
All right.
So, all right, the death of Christine, I think is important. And I kept thinking is that a broken glass heart?
Yes, it is. We should play Heart of Glass.
Yeah, or a Celine
by
Dion
Blondie.
Song of any kind. So let's talk a bit about this and my struggles with it. Maybe you want to jump in as well.
I didn't have as many struggles with it. I really like I like tropes.
Fair. The what if of this is essentially that Doctor Strange genuinely loved Christine and recognized it in himself, and they never broke up.
Yes.
And as a result, when he got to go to his awards show, which wasn't actually an awards show in the movie, it's just a presser sort of thing.
He was just giving a speech in front of a conference or something.
Going to a conference, giving a speech. This one's an awards show. You're getting an award. And this is an important thing. He's getting an award for a this schizophrenia thing that he's done, where he's separated the two hemispheres of the brain to stop not schizophrenia, stop epilepsy. Yeah, and it was a radical.
It is a genuine thing that does happen.
Thing that's done. Yeah, but then at the same time, very much like it's a hint to us later, because what happens later on, he gets split into two different persons. Yeah, as well. So that was really interesting.
That is delightful that they sort of were foreshadowing that, because in so many ways, when they actually have to separate the hemispheres, parts of your body react in different ways. So sometimes like your right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing when you separate the hemispheres in your brain. Yeah. Yeah. It helps a lot of people that have very severe seizures.
So what you're saying is the Ancient One should do that to people having seizures?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
If only, right?
No.
Instead of being one person with troubles here, you'd be two people with troubles?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, this is my problem. And I'll also talk about the paradox that Doctor Strange is.
It is a paradox. That's really the only reason he can't change it, is because it's a paradox and it's illogical.
Well, I like the comment in calling it of something point. The word failed me. It's a point. Absolute point.
Absolute point.
Because it cannot be changed, because it predicates all that will come to pass afterwards. Honestly,
it's quite a common time travel.
Yeah. If he wants to retain the same, this is the other key point here too, is that he wants to retain the same time stream. Because the Infinity Stones are all maintaining the integrity of that universe, even the different permutations of it. There's only one time stone, and he's manipulating that time stone to change time to the point where he would no longer have the time stone, and he would no longer be on that path. He is essentially trying to stop himself from starting down the path to begin with, which
is like time travel where you shoot your own father.
Yeah. And it basically the world disallows him from doing so. It continues to put things in place that disallows him from moving forward. And that has there's a great line about grief in there, and the inability to move forward when you're experiencing trauma and grief the way that Doctor Strange has. Because what's interesting is that it's been 2 years, but it's 2 hellish years where he spent how many countless times dying in front of Dormammu? How many millions of futures has he investigated in order to defeat Thanos? Mm-hmm. And now he's come back, he sat down with the cheap whiskey, and he is thinking about
what could have been,
I think it's a moment of like, I've done so much service. Do I not get anything for myself?
I don't actually think that it's that. I think it's that our brains can't always tell the difference between our memories and our reality when they're heavily invested in emotions. So that's why we sort of get trapped in our past selves occasionally when we're triggered by, smells or locations or even just thoughts of old times. And it symbolically shows in the show what ends up happening when you try to go through that and you end up getting stuck in the rumination of that time period, which is you go down a dark path, a path that many people can't follow you.
Right. Wow. So the problem, though, is that they use Christine's death as his beat, and also call Christine his heart. And that's what I'm struggling with the title, because he doesn't technically lose his hands. He just loses the ability to, super fine motor control, pull out a hardened by antimony bullet from somebody's brain, which, by hand. So he loses that, and he cannot perform any longer as a surgeon. So that's what causes him down his path in our Doctor Strange. The MCU 616 is Doctor Strange. And in this reality, it's the death of Christine that drives him to become a sorcerer, because intrinsically, on some rooted traumatic level, he desires her still in his life. He can't get over his loss of her.
Yeah, I would say so. And he was looking for a way to control more of the world than he had as a doctor.
Yes.
Which was still a significant way to control the outcomes of people's lives, right? But it wasn't enough to save her or prevent what happened.
So it leads him down a dark path in the same way that it led Loki down the good path.
Yeah.
Because in Loki, he finds out that his mom is dead and he's stuck in the TVA, and it turns him into a good person.
Yeah, and Wanda.
And in WandaVision,
into a...
she went down a dark path.
Dark path.
And had to pull herself out by her own. She didn't have an ancient one to split her in the hopes of...
I mean, Agatha helped, right? Even though, like, she didn't mean to help, she did. Because she helped her confront everything in a semi-appropriate and safe way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm the villain. You can blame it all on me.
Yep.
That's great. So we get a broken heart, and so why not a montage? Here's my other problem with the episode.
A death montage.
Here's my other problem with the episode. It's only a 30-minute episode, and they have to get through so much because there's an off chance that you've never seen Doctor Strange and you don't know what's going on, or you have, but it was a while ago because the movie came out in 2016, and that's like 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there was a pandemic in the middle there, so that's like add a decade, right? So we get 3 montages in this episode. We get the montage of... Oh, hey, we better catch you up that all the...
This is what Doctor Strange is.
Here's Doctor Strange, because here's his seminal point where he becomes Doctor Strange, but then we have to tell you all of the things that lead up to now, because it's been 2 years and we better catch you up. Ancient One dies, the world gets saved, confronts Dormammu. Okay, we're good. Okay, we've gotten that. All right, now he really wants to bring Christine back. Time for another montage.
Death montage.
Let's kill Christine as many times as possible.
Yeah.
And I will say that the beats in the story are great, that lead up from one moment, from one death to the next. I feel his panic. I feel Christine's, constant bewilderment at the changes that are going through him in heartbeats to her. And the deaths are always thankfully off screen, but they're not like, they're still traumatic enough as it is. So wow, not only now has he watched Christine die once, he's probably watched Christine die hundreds of thousands of times, because he's Doctor Strange and he never gives up.
Yes, he's a very stubborn human.
He beat Dormammu.
Yeah.
He went through 4 million different outcomes of the Thanos event.
Yeah, and we also got that out of the episode too, when he said how long he had been alive for, centuries, trying to gain enough power to make this happen.
It's just, oh my goodness. I cannot believe this. It's funny that they're mentioning Doctor Doom in there. I'm going to mention Doctor Doom in a bit too. And then we get another montage. I got to get the power.
Which was entertaining. I enjoyed that.
I mean, if you like a montage.
If you like a montage.
This is your episode. None of the other episodes have montages like this. Agent Carter does.
Agent Carter had some solid...
Captain Carter.
You're sorry, yes. Captain Carter and the fighting and the, had some solid montages. But yeah, you're right. This was a montage heavy episode.
Like, that's a few too many a montage, I think. I don't... okay. Maybe I'm spitting... I
liked
the wind, but...
I'm eating the Cthulhu monsters.
Oh, my, okay, yes. They were... I like montages as well. Especially like a Make Me Pretty montage. I always love those.
Makeover? It was a makeover montage of sorts. Right?
It really was. Makeover montage.
Makeover.
So, okay, that's my other problem. I didn't like the Heart of Glass. element of Christine's being fridged to motivate Doctor Strange to go down this dark path. And then I didn't really like the fact that there was 3 montages in a 30-minute cartoon.
I'm gonna have Heart of Glass running through my head.
That's awesome
for the rest of this time now.
And moving on.
All right.
Oh, hey, I already covered this, but I did want to talk about another important absolute point of time thing, and that is all of the Final Destination movies.
Oh.
I think Marie Claire's only ever seen one. Have you ever seen any?
I think I've seen the first one.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
I have seen at least 4 of these, but I could not tell you which 4 I've seen.
They all blend together in Final Destination points.
But if you ever want to talk about absolute point in time and how time adjusts for any possible change in the outcomes that are preordained, Final Destination is really the best version of that. And I'm sorry, Christine, Final Destination takes the cake for ensuring that people get offed in often unique, ludicrous, and hilarious ways, which leads up to funnier pieces. Yeah.
Death finds a way in Final Destination movies.
And the same with Christine.
And with
I like
Christine.
the one where they're dancing. They get to the event. They manage to get there. And she's like, oh, my heart. And then dies.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Anyway. Framing perspectives. Another thing that is really well done in this episode is how they use glass to reflect a change in the perspective of the person, because strong men can't cry. I don't know if you're aware of the motif and the trope, but if a strong man is sad, he looks out a window that reflects light upon him while it's raining, and the rain cascades down his face to look
or
like
they'll be standing in the rain, and the rain will be dropping directly onto their face, making them look like they're crying.
I'm so sad.
But I can't cry because I'm a man.
So
just cry. Watching men cry is hot.
And another great one that shows that a person's perspective has shifted and it's broken, that they're viewing things in a cracked way, that they're not stable.
It's a quite common symbol,
and that there's something wrong with them, is a person looking through cracked glass or broken glass, so that their image is slightly obscured or shifted and not complete, that they have mentally broken. And there are a lot of great thriller movies that show you that moment when the bad person shifts. And I wish I'd
another
pulled up
trope,
some Final Destination things, but again, it's also just a framing device. So I don't know if you really call it a trope, but I mean, I guess
it's a trope.
So,
but also the reflection aspect is foreshadowing more to the split person and the mirror that is created, right? Because one is the true self and one is the broken self.
Yeah, and so we can see here the true self is not reflected in the broken glass of the car. In this, when I keep wanting to call him Tony for some reason, but I think somebody's talking about Tony Todd in the script. So and Tony has the same goatee. So anyway, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, is in our front, and our normal, how we would have expected, the guy who's just thought about getting Christine back but didn't actually do it, is in the background. So he doesn't have a cracked perspective. Our Sorcerer Supreme definitely does, and they are showing that to us very clearly here, and I thought that was interesting to pull up.
It was very cool. Oh, let's talk about this guy. I don't know this guy at all, so this is cool.
Welcome to Cagliostro time. Cagliostro, for those who are Marvel fans, was in 12 Marvel comic books over the last 41 years. He came about in 1970 in Marvel in a comic called Fear, and then featured most of the rest of his showings in Marvel as Cagliostro is in the Dracula comics. And you can see Cagliostro from the Marvel version is the guy in the suit with the cravat, the weird mustache. That is his principal picture from our Marvel page. And then we get Aubin, and Aubin is Cagliostro, so he's in this picture here because that is his principal alias in the Marvel universe. But let's talk about who Cagliostro is, because Cagliostro, or Alessandro Cagliostro, was born in 1743 and died in 1795. He was an Italian magician and toured around Europe as a famed, successful person who did magic acts and spiritual healing and palm readings and psychic events. And he was a massive, world-renowned, loved character. And he was loved in his time until something called the Affair of the Necklace.
Ooh.
Now, if you look to the bottom under our Ike Okami picture of Aubin, you can see, yes, that's Christopher Walken. Because in 2003, a movie of The Affair of the Necklace was made with Hilary Swank in the lead role. Because there was this, and Christopher Walken played Cagliostro. So you can see like how cool he is, how amazing.
But did he speak like Christopher Walken?
When does he not?
Okay.
I haven't seen the movie, but when does he not speak
I am Cagliostro.
I wonder if he's like, kids, you gotta know there's magic in the air. You know.
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
Walken. Yeah.
So Christopher Walken plays Cagliostro. That's how big Cagliostro is. And I will also point out that on the right-hand side, directly under the name Cagliostro, is the bust of Cagliostro himself. Okay, so later on in Cagliostro's life, a very valuable necklace gets stolen from Marie Antoinette.
Uh-oh.
When she was not yet queen, Marie Antoinette's necklace is stolen, and Cagliostro is blamed. And they take him and they lock him in the Bastille for 9 months.
Oh.
He's locked away for 9 months. And they finally let him go because there is zero evidence against him being guilty of this crime. That's literally what happens. So he's like, screw you, France, I'm leaving. And he goes to England, where he hangs out in England for a little while, and things don't go so well for him in England. And so he's on his way back, heading to Spain, when he's hanging out on a boat or a train. He's hanging out, traveling with these two people that turn out to be Spanish Inquisition agents, who then capture him for saying something one way or another, and they seize him, and he gets dragged before the Inquisition, thrown in jail, and that's where he passes away at the age of just about 52.
He had no luck.
Like, after the Affair of the Necklace, things went downhill for poor Cagliostro. Okay, so he passes away in 1795, and he passes away pretty well-known, beloved person. He's also one of the instrumental people in the creation of the Italian Freemasons.
Interesting.
So, okay.
I mean, yeah, people would pick up on that guy and be like, he's actually a really well-renowned. He's got an interesting life. I would make him a vampire in a vampire
absolutely
story.
Not only that, he was a master forger.
Yeah.
To the extent where a letter written by Casanova was forged by Cagliostro and then presented to Casanova. And Casanova was like, I can't even tell that this is not my letter. I swore. And Cagliostro didn't even know the language that it was written in. And he couldn't even read it. And he managed to make this letter. And it was perfect. And everybody thought that Casanova was like, that very well could have been my letter. So a lot of people throughout time, and I'll drop this name now for you, that a lot of people have referred and referenced to Cagliostro over the years because he's this like seminal mystic. He's like the Rasputin of,
I was just
not
thinking
getting
that.
shot a bunch.
Not getting shot a bunch.
Aleister Crowley actually says that Cagliostro is one of his past lives. If you recall Aleister Crowley, another character from the 1920s in Gay Paris, who's running around. Okay,
yeah.
Thought I'd drop that.
There's like throughout history, sometimes there's just these very charismatic people that end up history kind of revolves around for a little while, and like Cagliostro, Rasputin, Aleister Crowley were all kind of like that.
Okay.
It's interesting.
So Cagliostro, that is not his real name. That's his stage name, his Europe name. He is apparently an amazing orator, and he's great at attracting people's attention and making you want to listen to him as he tells and spins his tales and does his psychic healing. They find out that his real name in the affair of the necklace, right, it all comes out, that his actual name is Giuseppe Balsamo. But I would like to caution that I don't think that this is true. History has largely reflected that his name, in fact, is Giuseppe Balsamo. In fact, the bust there is of Giuseppe Balsamo because that is supposedly his real name. But I will tell you this, that it turns out that he was, in fact, a Jewish gentleman, and the Jewish word for, like, mystic leader or spiritual leader or healing person is a Baal Shem. A Baal Shem, Baalshem. And Balsamo is essentially
Balshem
that
in
put
like
together.
Italian.
So I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But there you have it. Now, not to be outdone, DC, they needed to put Cagliostro.
They also have a Cagliostro?
into their stuff. And I don't know if anyone in chat has figured it out yet or noticed it, but the gentleman in the brown hat, the brown leather hat wearing the overcoat is none other than Cagliostro, the inventor, creator, maker guy in Spawn. So Cagliostro is a key character in Spawn.
Interesting.
And then the guy with the skull in his hands, the other one,
yeah,
that is Cagliostro, as done by Orson Welles in the 1943 classic movie Black Magic, which I have to put that in there.
Yeah, of course. It's Orson Welles. Yeah.
So, there you have it.
But so, dude made a library. In this universe, he's actually a sorcerer, right? That's what we find out, right? He had a library. The library is right behind us, as you can see.
Okay. I don't want to dig into it because who Cagliostro is or is not is way out there.
He's such an interesting character. It reminds me a lot of like a male Agatha, and I would love to see a version of him in the MCU. I think that would be really, really cool.
So in the MCU, Cagliostro isn't even Cagliostro. It's some other guy that we find out later on who is a magician sorcerer who's looking to become immortal.
In Marvel comics.
In the Marvel comics,
okay.
sorry, not the MCU. But in Marvel comics, he's some other guy. He kills Cagliostro and takes his place. And the reason Cagliostro is immortal is because he has found a ritual that allows him to live forever, where it requires a lot of vampire blood.
Oh, he has to eat vampires. Okay.
So that is a whole part of it right there. And here you have the whole big deep dive into who is Cagliostro.
Who's this library owner?
Exactly. And it tells me, because he's referenced quite a bit, like not just once in Doctor Strange, the MCU movie.
You're right.
And they get Aiko Kami for this. And they give us Open, and they give us this hint of like, are you Cagliostro? And I love the fact that Doctor Strange even tells him, do not tell me you're Cagliostro. And so the guy doesn't.
Yeah, I hope he is. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I would think that there's a 0% probability that Oben in this show, is not Cagliostro, and that we're not getting Cagliostro again. I would bet dollars to donuts that donuts are expensive anyway, so it's a bad analogy.
Yeah, they're more than $1 now.
I know, right? I would bet dollars to Timbits that we're going to get Cagliostro.
Very
in the
Canadian.
Next Doctor Strange movie.
That would be cool, or more references to him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I have a question for you out there in the world. He says, no doy.
No doy! Yeah.
And has he said that before? Because I could not find it.
I don't think that he has. Yeah.
I watched Doctor Strange. I watched the other movies, like everything that had Doctor Strange in it. I looked it up today and I could not find any point where he says no doy before.
I feel like
that's a Benedict Cumberbatch thing.
Like maybe they are like just fill in this with a line and just say it. But I went through a period of time where no doi was in my vocabulary. I don't know when. I'm trying to remember how far that was back in the past, but no doi was in my vocabulary at some point.
There you go. No doi.
No doi.
It's such a great picture. Every single picture, every single moment that's frozen in time in these episodes of What If
are gorgeous
beautiful pictures. Just like, this is what you do when you get a great storyboard artist and you give him the directorship of an animated feature like this. He's just going to knock it out of the park.
He's just going to make everything gorgeous.
Like, the way the sunlight comes in, the way it references him, the way that the lighting changes from this, where those candles are, changes to the lighting points in the next scene, and it just flows from one beat to the next. It's just really beautiful, and no doi. Okay.
Yeah,
take it away.
Let's talk about Man in Shadow. So of course this is such a common storytelling trope. I would say that the biggest version of this that I've seen actively engaged exactly in this way was actually in the Yoda Chronicles within the Clone Wars, where he goes to the Force planet and then confronts the shadow version of himself, and they have a fight, and he actually kills the shadow version of himself, which is, generally speaking, you're not supposed to kill the shadow version of yourself. When we talk about things from Star Wars perspective, when you end up falling into the dark side has consumed you. And so this is why this whole episode reminded me so much of Anakin's story, and how he was obsessed with bringing Padme back from the dead. And even when he had gone dark, he had done that. And the good man that was Anakin was buried deep inside of the shadow form of him, which is now a monster on the outside. It's such a good way to show the conflict within and the different aspects of yourself in a visual format. And so I really applaud the episode for doing it in such a beautiful way. Yeah, I love it. That's all.
Well, tell me more about the shadow and what that means.
Oh, okay. So
get into the Union bit that you really wanted to I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
That's why you're here. I only brought you on for this point.
Oh, you could have had Will the whole time. Everybody going, "Aw."
Chaos levels.
Okay, so the shadow is just something that we always have within us. It is our darkness. It is the thing that builds because of the baggage that we carry around with us. Obviously, Dr. Strange, or the Sorcerer Supreme, had carried around the baggage of Christine enough that it had grown into an alternate version of himself, right? And the more that we sort of ignore that aspect and don't deal with that darkness and ruminate on it, right? Or ignore it, or don't put it in its right place. Because not Young, but Bly, is an interpretation of Young, described it like a trash bag that you carry behind you, which is your shadow. The more garbage or baggage that you shove into this trash bag and don't deal with, don't put away in its proper place, the longer and bigger and smellier your shadow becomes. And visually, we see that play out in the episode with Doctor Strange consuming the darkness that is across the galaxy in an attempt to become more powerful and get what he wants and ruminate on these things. And he becomes visually more and more monstrous as time goes on, consuming these different aspects of the darkness of the galaxy or the universe that he is in.
Yeah, it's also a really good visual reference of power corrupts.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, this ends up becoming a cautionary tale because you can't bring a loved one back from the dead. That's what it's trying to say, and it's I appreciated this storytelling in this way, and I felt like it was a very powerful way to do it. There's a lot being done from a visual symbolism perspective.
So he can't get over Christine until he consumes himself. And what's neat in this is that...
And that's actually something that Young and Bly talked about, which is you need to eat your shadow. You need to understand it enough to be able to eat it, and then it becomes part of you and it becomes power instead of something that you are ignoring that harms you.
And in this episode, we get the opposite
We get the opposite of that, which is quite common from when you fall to the dark side, like that is quite common. The good person inside of you is hidden inside, right? And locked away.
Well, we get a very, very physical
version.
And that is the only point at which his grief consumes him, is when the person who has accepted Christine's loss is taken back into him, that he can actually see what he's done. As the world falls down around his ears, it's very physical and hits you over the head with every single metaphor and analogy it can create.
It literally melts into shadow, like the
no,
darkness.
It doesn't, actually.
Everything is melting, right?
I want to talk about that. Flip to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's talk about erasure. Because the MCU sure loves to erase things.
They love it.
So, the first time we get it is the Thanos snap, when everything turns to dust. The second time we get it is in WandaVision, when everything that she has made from the change of reality from her possession of the Mind Stone and her powers, everything that she has done turns into like digitized dust.
Right.
And then
they also sort of got it in Loki with the pruning too.
Yeah, but that was teleporting, right? We didn't realize it at the time, but that's what was going on. And so what we get in this one is really neat, because the fundamental building blocks of everything are dust, carbon, right? We're reduced to nothing but our fundamental building blocks. In an animated show, what are the fundamental building blocks?
Ink.
And what are they all turning into?
That's so neat.
I know, right?
That's cute. I love it.
So there you go. Everything is being returned to it's being basically wiped away, smudged away into big black ink as you erase the picture and take away these people's lives. And so that's what we get yet again with more erasure. So they deal with it really, really well. Like, it's graphic. It's very, it's chest clenching when it happens in Avengers Infinity War. Yeah. When it happens in WandaVision, especially with Vision at the very end, and I include that because I watched it again today and it still made me cry. And then when it happens in this, I feel the same way. I feel that same, and I think they're going for it here. Is as this universe is destroyed, it's returned to ink, and I've lost my line there, but it made me very sad. So yeah, and then a couple of other things that I want to point out. The tentacle monster
cool. Yeah,
is exactly the same tentacle monster from Captain Carter.
Ah, cool.
And I don't doubt Jesse Garrett's and maybe a couple other people in chat know exactly what the name of that monster is.
What is it?
It is a big, nasty monster from Marvel Comics, and it may be the final threat or a final threat that they have to face, because I think that monster exists across the universe.
It's not Cthulhu?
I don't think so. But I think it exists outside of time, and outside. I think that
and then it's like, and then all the different threads and storylines that the watcher is watching will be pulled together to defeat the cross universe monster.
And I just want to point out, tentacled things are usually very intelligent, and we should not be eating them. Okay, moving on.
Also, George Lucas is a big fan of tentacles.
Oh, yeah.
Like huge.
So many people are. I mean, tentacled things are scary, foreign,
intimidating, but very intelligent, because they have to control so many things.
We watched one of them squish the Red Skull like nothing.
Yeah.
Just a pop. And in this one here, Doctor Strange deals with it very well, but then takes some of it into him. So it is, Shumagorath is likely the monster. It's got a big beak. It definitely looks like a big space octopus squid with nothing but tentacles. And it is possibly the big bad for the entire season. I don't know for sure, but it is interesting that it's popped up once again from episode 1 to episode 4.
It's all connected.
There you go.
Yes.
So at the end of the show, Everything is reduced to the tiny, tiny little gem. I almost think of it as a teardrop.
I thought it reminded me of the Power Stone in some ways, like just that it was an infinity stone of itself, and in that was kind of like,
wow. Yeah, I kind of wondered what happened to the infinity stones in this world. Like if it's all destroyed, do the infinity stones just crumble into dust as well? So we get this tiny little thing, and he is all that's left
inside of
the entire world. He gets to sit there and reminisce over what he's done
and be sad
over the loss of his love and come to grips with it, because we're going to get him again.
You've been put in a universal timeout.
Because there he is again.
Yep.
Talking to Captain Carter.
Yeah, which is cool. And he looks like he has not slept. Strange, you look like crap.
I know. I mean, where is there really anywhere comfortable to sleep in that prismatic shell that he's been trapped away in?
It's all cylindrical on the inside, and so you can't ever get so flat, and you keep on sliding down the walls. So
I want to point out a couple remaining pieces to this.
Okay.
Oh, no, not the next one.
Not this
one. Not that one.
Oh.
I want to point out a couple remaining things. In this, the Watcher, basically, I don't have the lines. I probably should have put them up for you. That would have been appreciated on your part to know what I'm talking about here. But if you go back and watch it, the Watcher basically says, I'm sorry that all this needed to happen, but all this needed to happen.
Yeah, he does. And he also says, I can't interfere.
I can't interfere.
No, I won't interfere. He could interfere, but he won't. Yeah.
Because I'm going to interfere later, and I'm going to take you out of your little prison, and I'm going to put you in to save the world for some other thing. And so all of this has to happen.
Yeah.
In fact, that's an absolute point in time right there, because I need you right there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no way we can avoid this. Yeah. Inside the gem.
So there's some timey-wimey stuff in this episode, especially with regards to the Ancient One, that I thought was like, okay, maybe it's just that they could not get everyone that they wanted for voice acting needs. I didn't think that we needed a shadow of the Ancient One set forward to the moment of Doctor Strange weaning and thinning time down, because he's replayed the Christine moment so many times in history. But anyway, and so I wanted to end with a what if, because this image kept popping up today every time I would pop it up, and I loved Disney Infinity so much. I collected almost every single Disney Infinity figure.
We played it so much.
It was a mainstay. Marie Claire was like, you bought more? Kyle, you just bought 10 figures yesterday. I was like, yeah, but these ones were available, and they get sold out quick. And I mean, they really did.
We have a lot of them. We should probably take a picture of them and show them.
I'm going to do that.
To people, because like, I don't think people realize how much we were really into Disney Infinity.
Disney Infinity so much. Anyway, so here we have Doctor Strange, and this is the maquette. This is the artist drawing of it. It was in pre-production and going to be made when they canceled Disney Infinity after 3.0. It was supposed to come out for 3.0. And when it was canceled, they didn't make him. And
you're sad.
I'm sad. And so I'm like,
what's interesting is that the artist himself has been like the similar style. They've actually turned into little statuesque things that you could buy at the Disney store at one point, until the Disney store shut down in all of Canada. And I hear that it's shutting down in a lot of places in the US. So I'm sad. Like, where do we get our very unique Disney merch, I guess, online?
I think they're just making better money licensing it out to other people to make it.
Right.
Rather than making it themselves.
Or selling it
you're
themselves.
Missing out. Like, you bought the people who made Disney Infinity, the company, Disney bought them and then built them up and then said, we don't want to have the budget anymore. And it axed them right in the midst of their biggest thing. And the thing is like, when it was cut, yes, it was slow to load because it was loading into conventional, console gaming systems at the time. It was innovative design. It was characters that had stored data on them. They were like NTFs almost. Like you would plug it in and that would be representative of your character in the game, and you could take that character to a friend's house and play there, and he would still be level 19 if that's what he was. So that was really cool, and I'm sad to see that that's gone. And the figures were some
and the
of
adventures were fun. Like I really loved running around like downtown New York and trying to save Avengers Tower, and then you're like, oh, Oscorp, oh no, what's going on? And like, there was so many cool things.
So I'm really sad that it's gone. The figures that they made were some of the most impressive, amazing 3 to 4 inch characters out there that I've ever seen, and the fact that they had this dual purpose, I'm so sad for. And the fact that we will never get a Doctor Strange Disney Infinity figure, let alone the others. I tweeted today, I don't know if you saw it, the picture of the mock-up of what the X-Men would have looked like in Disney Infinity, and I was just even more sad.
I did not see that.
They are amazing, and there's so much out there.
They should just make the statues, because they're very cute. They would probably sell just as well as like
so they kind of
Funkos.
Did that, but they
did for a while, like because I saw Rey, right? I saw Rey and I saw Kylo, and they were the non-Disney Infinity
yeah, they did
figures.
do them, and they maintained it, but it wasn't. They didn't put the money into it, and they didn't put the time into the marketing.
Yeah,
the way they did with Disney Infinity.
Is that our last slide?
That's it. Yes. I was just, what if Disney Infinity hadn't been canceled? Because I was thinking about that today.
Sad.
Sadness. I'm not as sad as Sorcerer Supreme Strange.
Yeah,
I will tell you
true.
that.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Will we only get 1 or 2 cross What If episodes?
Okay.
Will it be a part 1, part 2? Will it be just a one finale after all the episodes have been told? I kind of get the feeling that we might get 2 episodes of a What If finale once the watch, because how close is the Watcher? The Watcher is literally yelling at Stephen Strange. He can't, like, he's not going to take him out of this situation. Like,
I can tell you a few things. We are still to get a Gamora episode.
Right.
That's 1. We're on episode 4, right? So there's 9, so we can count this out. There's 5 to go. We've got a Gamora episode to come. There is a Spider-Man episode to come.
Oh yeah, there is.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's there. There is a Zombies episode to come.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the finale or not, so I couldn't tell you. And then there is the Iron Man and Killmonger episode to come. And that leaves us with 1 episode left. And there is imagery of Vision with the Mind Stone in his head and all of the other gems in his chest as the, like,
and it's almost like a suit of armor.
Infinity Vision. So I don't know how he fits into that, but there are 5 episodes left, and I don't, again, know where we're going to go and what's going to happen or what even's next. I'm going to guess it's the Killmonger episode next. I'm going to guess that it's a step back for the Watcher, because we've got basically our mid-season tease with Sorcerer Supreme Strange lost and alone in a gem world contained by the Watcher to be pulled out for the future. We've got that.
We were asked how many seasons will What If be. We don't know, but it was renewed.
There's 2 seasons already of What If. I will guess that they have enough to pull because of the way they've looked at the questions so far and the way they have structured this, that I can see this having 3 to 5. Now, I will point out, Disney is not good at long-standing shows. They don't want that. Marvel too. Marvel will generally only do something for 3 seasons at most. There are very few outliers to that.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was so rare. And
that's a CBS thing.
No, I know. And they had to fight for that.
I was speaking to animated.
Animated
shows. Things like Armored Adventures for Iron Man. You get Wolverine and the X-Men. You get any of the X-Men ones. Getting anything beyond a 3rd season is almost impossible in animation. So I don't think we're going to get a ton more. I could see very easily developing another 3 seasons from this. I could write 3 seasons of if I see what they're doing now, and I can see that they're pulling things in different ways, that they can then pull the characters that are central to that into a final episode where it's Cosmic Avengers. I could see doing that. I could write that. That would be
they probably want to do something
together.
different the next go around that plugs into the next phase of what's happening and says something different from a What If, like Hey,
Yeah.
what is the point, or what is the thesis of why we are telling all of these things? Because it feels very much like they're trying to set us up for, why is this important? The why. We talked about this so many times, the why of these things.
Yep.
And so to me, it feels like it's pulling on that. And then they would have to tell a different why each season to keep our interest, I think. They could still do the similar sort of what ifs associated with it, but it's important to answer a different question, I think.
I agree. Any other final thoughts?
No, that's all I had. I really enjoyed this episode. You had way more problems. I know.
I've
it was
seen it 4 times.
I know, fair. Yeah.
So those montages kind of after a bit. I felt like you did after seeing it once. This is not like last week's episode where you watch it the second time and you're like, ooh, I didn't see that. Ooh, I'm in on the joke, right? You're like, oh, God, I'm in on the joke. All right, Christina's dead.
We get it. Christina's dead. It's like, it felt very, like Christmas Carol. Like, oh, we get it. Morley is dead. Like,
so yeah. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for dropping in today and hanging out with us. I cannot wait for more psychological stuff in the next episode, which I think is going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to the buddy Killmonger Iron Man stuff that might come to pass in the next episode. I catch us back next week. We will be here at the same time, same What If channel here on YouTube. And we have to duck out pretty quick here because we're off to see Shang-Chi and then record with the kids their reaction to the 10 rings. And if I don't get 10 rings, I'm going to be a little disappointed.
They're on their arms. You can see it.
But each of the 10 rings has a different power associated with it.
Oh.
And I want my powers.
You want the different powers. They did that so well in Armored Adventures.
Yes, they did.
Like, Armored Adventures was such a good cartoon.
It really is.
It makes me so sad it didn't get the love. And Happy and Pepper were so cute, and Brody. Like, you have these like baby versions of all of the characters. If you haven't checked out do we know if Armored Adventures is on Disney Plus?
It's there. Yeah, no.
What are you doing watching this show? You should be watching Armored Adventures.
Yeah, I would sit there and join you, but for some reason, Armored Adventures, I can only get about 8 minutes into the episode and then I fall asleep. It doesn't matter if I've had a really good night's sleep already. 8 minutes in,
well, it's because at the time Robin was really into it, and Robin was only like 3 or something.
Sure.
And it was on in the morning, and you would like pass out on the couch while she watched.
That's fair, but then I turned it on the other day.
Yeah, did
on
you
like
pass
the middle
out?
of a Saturday afternoon. It was a gonk, and I was out. So I don't know.
I think you've been hypnotized by the show.
I also kind of maybe feel that the cell shading does something to my brain and pacifies me to the point where I'm like, oh, I sleep now. So,
but the story itself is so
there you
good.
Go. It's great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's beautiful to watch, and I cannot wait to join you back here next week for more of the adventure. Anything going on that you want to tell people about?
For us? Or other stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I released an episode of What the Force that's like a regular episode.
It's not a bad batch.
I know. We're back.
I'm not on it.
No. And I've got a bunch of What the Force stuff planned for this month, so that'll be really cool. I'm
not in it.
Yeah, I know. People... Yes.
It'll be good.
People were excited that it was a regular episode.
I know.
It's a Power of Myth and Symbolism episode on the missing divine feminine in Star Wars. And I have Fangirling Only, who helped with the tea selection for the Loki show. So when we both actually have purple hair, which is really funny and cute, and it's a really great episode. It'll be out on Monday for regular people, or it's out now already on the Patreon. So that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to giving that a listen.
Yeah,
and you should too. And my last provision that I'm going to try to add going forward here is, hey, Marvel's asked what if, and then they've turned it into this beautiful show. And that is giving you the permission and power to ask your own what ifs and then answer them yourselves. Mm-hmm. So go out there and do it. Create the content that you have in your heart, because Marvel says it's perfectly fine and acceptable to do it, and they want to know and see more of it, and I do too. So if you've written your own Marvel ships and different stands and different approaches to things, throw it out there. Marvel has always been about new, interesting ways of looking at old problems.
Yep.
So with that being said,
So it's really like, in so many ways, I wasn't expecting this, but it is really a celebration of transformational thought. And I'm all about that. So it's really enjoyable.
Wait for more. So we'll see you back next week.